What have you done? I stared at my captors in shock. Do you have any idea what this means? The reddish alien brutes ignored my pleas. They always do. This is suicide! My chains rattled against the cold ship floor as I watched on helplessly. You have to let her go! Shut it, the slaver Alter said, large brow guarding his black eyes. If I want your advice, I'll ask for it. They didn't understand. They didn't know what kind of terror they were about to unleash upon themselves, and, knowing my luck, the kind of terror I'd be caught in the collateral of. Kid! I screamed to the poor girl over the chaos. Kid, it'll be all right. Close your eyes, kid. Just close your eyes. It'll be all right. I didn't know that, in all honesty. It was probably going to be very horrible for her. She looked young, maybe 7, and she was being dragged by a chain bound around her hands. Her hair was disheveled, her body covered in scratches, and her eyes wide and panicked. The poor thing. Come on! I yanked at my chains, trying to get the attention of the brutes. You have to let her go! Oh, yeah? A no-name stood before me, broad and swelled with pride. He was probably the Dreschen equivalent of a teen, bold and with something to prove. He shoved me to the floor, smirking at my meekness. Why should I listen to you, human? I shook off the pain. I was more than used to that sort of stuff by now. 2 years in captivity will do that to a man. You don't understand humans. I had to try and be honest. They needed to let that girl go, both because she was a damned child and because they didn't understand just what mankind would do to protect their young. We humans take children much more seriously than we take adults. Shut it! He spit on me. Just like they protect you, huh? Well, I shook my head, hands up in a defensive posture. I mean, I'm a little different, sure. I get myself into trouble a lot. What can I say? I'm not on the best terms with my people, I continued. I'm on my own. She's not. He looked back at the kid, who was now being locked to the wall across the room from me. She looked pretty on her own to me. Oh, brother. Gosh, I was going to die because of their idiocy. No, they're going to come for her. They're going to come for her, and it's going to be violent. I can promise you that. Real violent. Violent, he huffed, almost drinking in the word. I'd love to see human violence. I winced. There you go again, comparing the entirety of humanity to me. I leveled my speech, trying to sound as serious and dark as I could. Who they will send will not be like me. Right. He wasn't listening. They never do. Whatever you say. The brutes chained her up and took a moment to laugh and drink it in. Some poked at her, others tossed things. All the while I was screaming like a banshee. Come on, guys! I had to try something. You motherfuckers! I took to a classic of mine, insults. I'd rather their attention be on me, even if it's bad attention. You red shits! Come on, bunch of bastards! I never said my insults were creative. Red freaks! That's what you all are! Red freaks! All I got for my troubles was a quick visit from Alter, who swiftly kicked me in the chest and sent me reeling into the floor, wheezing and coughing. Eventually, though, they all did leave, giving me and the kid a moment in the dim, echoey room. Kid! I was still squirming on the floor from that kick. It was a pretty ruthless one. Kid, can you hear me? She was shriveled into a corner, horrified and unable to process what was going on. Kid, you've got to listen to me. I couldn't get over to her. My chain was too short. Hey, look, you're going to have to listen to me, okay? We're going somewhere bad, kid. We're going somewhere bad, and I gotta keep you safe. It was true. If she thought the ship was bad, then when we finally made it back to their squat little village on some tumbling asteroid, that's where she'd find the real hell. The Dreschen had many prisons for their slaves, and none were exactly safe or well regulated. Okay, come on. What's your name, kid? What's your name? Her poor eyes had captured that 1,000-yard look. She'd already seen so much. I shuddered to think of where her parents were, or in what state. I sighed. sinking back into the wall and groaning as my chest ached. My name is Lute, but most just call me piece of shit or lying bastard. You can take your pick. I have many names. I got the feeling she wasn't going to speak. That's all right, kid. You don't have to say anything. I wouldn't either. I remembered my troubled youth. Maybe not as bad as being captured by brutal Dreshen pirates, but I was enslaved at least twice. No, 3 times? A man loses count after a while. Either way, it isn't good for a kid. I knew that from experience. You don't have to talk, but I do want you to listen, okay? She wasn't looking at me, but I trust she was at least hearing. All right, well, they're taking us to one of their camps. These camps have little prisons on them. That's where they'll take us, and these prisons aren't nice. They'll throw us in there and leave us to the wolves. They don't care. It's all games to them. I scooted away from the wall, slowly so as not to scare her, but I wanted to get closer. She just had to listen to me on this part. Kid, please, stay with me, okay? I've been to plenty of these places. People are coming to get you, I have no doubt of that, but I want to make sure you're okay when they arrive. Her eyes watered. They were like marbles stuck inside a skull that didn't want them. Her hands were over her small knees and she hugged them as if they could save her. I'm sorry, kid. I shook my head. I promise you this, though. They're going to pay for what they did to you. I looked up and away, imagining what was convening in a far-off system as we spoke. They have no idea what they did. We arrived at the camp soon enough. More prisoners had been captured along the way, so when it came to finally disembarking, it was quite the chaotic mess. Kid? We'd all been released from the wall, and the dozens of aliens, animals, and cyborgs all stood shoulder to shoulder in the small brig. Everyone had bound hands, paws, and tentacles? I'm not sure what that creature was. Either way, all were bound so as not to cause trouble. Kid, stay next to me. I shoved my way over. Grab my shirt, kid. Come on. Thankfully, she listened. She grabbed on tightly to me as we began shuffling out. I tried my best to hide her under my pretty meager height, but some creatures were taller and could see over. Others were much smaller. Hey! A hairy little thing bumped into her and yelled, causing her to quiver and tuck further into my shirt. Watch where you're going! I looked both ways to make sure a Dreshen wasn't looking. Then I promptly kicked the thing in the face and sent it tumbling away. Twerp! I didn't have to say that, but pot-shotting someone without insulting them is like cooking without spice. Quickly now! Dreshen waited at the exit of the ship, guns in hand and watching their precious cargo fall out into the rocky camp. They unclipped our hands and pushed us into the barren open air. Out! Out! Damsel? I heard a familiar voice from behind me as we came into the prison. Damsel, is that you? I turned and saw a tall and skinny alien, yellow with 4 arms. His name was Vought. I used to sell drugs with Vought. Oh, hey! I looked down at the kid, empathizing with her confusion. I told you I have many different names. Honestly, I think I'd long forgotten my real name. Maybe it was Jacob. No, Lester. Lester? I think I just made that one up now. What is a name anyways? It all doesn't matter in the end. When they bury me, I'm sure the grave will be nameless. Damsel, what in the stars are you doing here? Vought came up beside us, shuffling alongside as everyone made their way out. I mean, what are the odds? I gave him a skeptical glare. Yeah, he admitted. I guess that was a dumb question. I honestly should have expected to see you in a place like this. He looked down and saw the kid. Holy mother of stars! His hands flailed as he yelled and made a spectacle. Vought! I pulled him in close, speaking quietly and seriously. Vought, bring it down! Bring it down, man! Darwin, be cool! Be cool, man! Stars! He dusted himself off, calming but still wide-eyed. I mean, what in the moons? Is that your kid? No! Though I probably had a few somewhere. No, but I have to keep her safe. You hear me, Vought? Safe? He shook his head. Stars, we're the ones that should be concerned.
this place's days are numbered if the rest of the humans find out these Dreschen have a human child.
Yes, but look around, Vought. We'd been successfully unloaded, and were now in a large courtyard environment. Small, shabby tents decorated the strange land, and far off one could see spiky, guarded walls and well-armed Dreschen. We were in a Dreschen prison encampment, all right. Always lovely places. Yeah, I continued, shaking my head. I'm pretty sure some of these creatures would eat the kid if they saw her. Vought slapped me on the side of the head, glaring down at the kid, then back at me, eyes bulbous and judgmental. Sorry, you're right. I covered my ears with my hands. Anyway, some things would eat her, man. We have to make sure that doesn't happen.
Eat her?
Vought was always a dramatic fella. Every word he said was somehow just a little louder or a little more emotional than you'd expect. His spindly arms waved outside of his small frame with physics that I never quite understood.
Damsel, we're going to get eaten by the time the humans are done with this place. It'll be chaos. Chaos, damsel, chaos!
Look, man, I was getting pretty pissed now. Vought was being Vought, and I just needed to get the kid out of the open. Do your own shit if you want, but I'm keeping this kid safe. I looked around, noticing a couple of distinctive rocks. What? Yeah, fine. When I get bored in prison, I note the frames of rocks. It is for no reason whatsoever that I remembered those rocks. All right, those rocks looked vaguely like the bodies of women, but that has nothing to do with my memory of them. I've been to this one before. I pursed my lips, forming a plan. There's a little burrow someplace near the eastern edge from where Loken tried to dig his way out. I'll store her there.
What happened to the Loken?
Who knows? I think something ate him.
Do things get eaten a lot here?
I mused. You know, I guess more than your average place, yeah.
What's your average number of things getting eaten?
I mused harder. I don't really know.
Then how do you know a lot of things get eaten here?
Seriously? I shrugged my shoulders, adding some extra sass to my reply. I don't fucking know, man. Just tends to be something a man notices, you know? He nodded, as if that was any more a satisfying answer than my previous. All right, kid. I looked off to the eastern edge, scanning the gangs of prisoners every which way. I'll get you safe. Vought looked at me, then the kid. Oh, shit. I hadn't noticed. I took my hands off her ears, finally. I'll get you somewhere safe, kid. Follow me. Stay close. We shuffled along the dusty field. We really looked like something else. A horribly mediocre human. You can't say I'm not realistic about myself. A yellow crack-addicted shrimp, and some small creature that for all anyone knew was some intergalactic dwarf. You ever been to a Dreschen prison before? I kept my eyes peeled, trying to point out the troublemakers, if you catch my drift.
What? No, why the hell would I have been to a damned Dreschen prison before?
I shrugged. It was like my fourth time or something. It's not that uncommon, man.
No, damsel, no, I've never been to a place like this before.
All right, well, here's the deal. This place is pretty much just a little fleshy bank for these guys. They don't give a flying fuck what we do in here. Fight, rape, eat each other. They don't care.
Brutal.
Very. They just don't care. Whenever a group of Dreschen needs labor or alien guides or, God forbid, food, they sweep by and just grab some. Nice and easy.
Dude!
He threw up his hands.
Enough with the eating!
What do you want me to do? It's not like I'm the one picking at your bones, man. He shuddered.
All right, so what's the plan?
He wasn't paying attention and slammed right into the back of something.
Oh!
He backed up, hands rubbing over one another and speech becoming stammered as he realized how gangly the thing looked.
Oh, sorry.
Look, how Vought managed to both not see the Drogon and managed to not only run into it, but sort of buck into it, I have no idea. I told you he's a weird fella. And moreover, he's just a horribly unlucky fella. It's who he is.
Hey, sorry about that.
Drogons are massive, four-armed behemoths. They are gray with rough, rocky skin and have huge underbites. It's kind of funny. 3-fingered, claw-like hands and the brain power of peanuts. They're also horribly violent and ornery. Vought really outdone himself.
My bad, buddy. Hey, pal, my bad.
It turned its whole weight towards him, dwarfing him, me, and the kid, and I'm pretty sure a couple of planets behind us.
Sorry.
Its voice was tremendously heavy and gravelly.
Sorry?
Vought looked both ways, stunned at his luck.
Oh, haha, don't worry about it. Seriously.
He's a buffoon. Idiot, I whispered. He's telling you to say it again.
What?
Sorry, it demanded again, moving closer and becoming somehow even more imposing.
Oh!
Vought fumbled about himself, stumbling over his own hands in speech.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I already said it, but I'll say it again. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry.
It sneered.
Again. What?
Sweet Darwin. I stepped in between him and the beast. He's sorry, man. We're all sorry. We're just a bunch of idiots is all. Didn't mean to bother you. We'll be on our way.
You again.
It nodded to me.
Again.
Sorry, man. We're very sorry. We'll be leaving.
No. Again.
All right. I was beginning to think that the thing was taking some weird, perverse pleasure in this, and I wasn't having it. Sorry, I waved, walking away and guiding my little troop of intrepid misfits away with me. We're sorry! Wouldn't you know it, Vought bumped into another one. He was walking beside me, spastic and giddy as ever, then boom, straight into the chest of another Drogon. We stopped, and as I looked around, I noticed we were getting sort of surrounded by the things. In fact, we were surrounded by them. How those beasts snuck up on us, not a clue, but they did. I choose to blame Vought. Fucker, I whispered under my breath.
Oh!
Vought rubbed his hands together.
Oh, hey! Sorry!
This Drogon full-on smiled, toothy grin and all. It was creepy as all hell.
Say again.
Look, fellas. I got in the middle and put my hands up, counting the 4, 5, 6 whole Drogons. I suppose I don't need to tell you this, but that's a lot of fucking Drogons. We didn't mean no harm. Nope, not a bit of it. We just want to get on our way. That's all. That's all we want.
Female.
It growled back. I went red in the face, bowing with a sway of my arm. Apologies. How was I supposed to know? Fellas and ladies, we'll be going.
What that?
It pointed to my leg. Nothing, I said, maybe too quickly.
Let me see that.
My chest ran hot, and suddenly my hands tightened into fists. No. I was a little surprised at how angry and curt I felt. We're leaving. The Drogon widened her eyes.
What?
She sneered, moving in closer, and with some pretty ruthless intent.
What you say to me?
Look, was it the right thing to do? No, it wasn't. Was it all I could think of, or moreover, the only thought I had? Yes, it was. Anyway, I punched the Drogon in the face. I don't know what else to tell you. It came in close. I got scared, and I socked it. Oh, and remember how I said that hitting someone without insulting them is like cooking without spice? Well, I guess I'm a natural chef. Bitch! I yelled as I delivered a wild right hook. The Drogon stumbled back, more from the shock than the power of my strike. The whole group went quiet, including us, and we all just stared at each other for a moment. It was a rare few seconds. My gaze drifted from horribly terrifying Drogon to horribly terrifying Drogon, imagining how each was going to rip me apart. I reached behind and felt the kid grab onto the back of my leg. If the Drogons charged, I would sling the girl away and just tell her to run. I think she'd listen. I mean, she'd have to. That was the only option. All right, I said carefully, analyzing the stunned crowd, hand still tight on the girl. How are we feeling, folks? Yeah, I just did that. Yeah, I don't know why either, but here we are. Vought made some sort of whimpering noise. It didn't really inspire confidence into any of us.
Eat!
The Drogon finally said, shaking her head like a giant horse pestered by flies.
We eat the small things.
Vought threw up his hands.
Again with the eating.
That was all I needed to hear. Say what you want about me, and you can say a lot, but I'm not passive about these things. They said eat me? All right, game time. I gripped the back of the kid's shirt and threw her away from the Drogons with one desperate yank. Run! Before they could even process the toss, I tucked my head and charged headfirst into the female. I crashed into her chest and fell flat against the dirt, hardly moving her, and probably moving a few of my own ribs. No time to think, though. I squirmed up from the ground just as fast as I fell. Without thinking, I threw a punch at the first Drogon I saw, planting a fist against its stony jaw and feeling my knuckles break under the strain. Something picked me up. Something? It was a Drogon. A Drogon picked me up and tossed me across the yard, snarling as I crashed onto the rocks. Where was the kid? She got away, right? I mean, all she had to do was run. That was her best bet. I had to get up just in case she didn't, though. They couldn't get her. Fuckers! I popped up, swaying and bloodied. I saw Vought pinned down by two Drogons, both taking all too much pleasure in his squirming and screaming. The other three beasts were marching towards me, sort of lurching and taking their time, like wolves methodically circling trapped prey. I didn't see the girl anywhere. I guess that was kind of good. I yelled at the beasts, "Gray bastards!" I guess that's my go-to, isn't it? Color of the alien's skin backed up by a snarky, spiteful bastard. Could be worse.
Gon eat!
One snarled.
Gon and yum taste!
What? Didn't matter. Drogon grammar shouldn't be my concern. I shook off the dust and charged again, but I couldn't do the same move. So right before the first beast, I ducked instead of tackling them, running off to their side and slipping under a swinging arm. I planned to hop up on their back and poke at their eyes or some nasty shit like that, but before I got any further, a fist practically cut me in half, firing into the top of my right shoulder and twisting me into the ground. I rolled and groaned, attempting to use my spinning momentum to get back to my feet. Yet right when I found my bearings, a foot found my chest, and again I was slung across the ground, dizzy and stupid with pain. I rocked back and forth from shoulder to shoulder, eyes to the dim sky and not sure if the stars were real or some of my cartoon just-got-rocked stars. I could hear feet approaching from my painful trance. Yep, this is how I die. It wasn't the pirating or the smuggling or the dogfighting. It wasn't the streety brawling or the rampant gambling. I mean, really, any one of those would have made so much more sense. Instead, it was being eaten by a pack of Drogon at a Dreshen prison camp. Poetic. I closed my eyes as the steps got right next to me. Just don't eat my eyes. That's weird.
Get up.
No, you can eat me from down here. Wait a minute. That wasn't a Drogon's voice. In fact, I knew that voice. Alter! I opened my eyes and saw that pissy red bastard standing above me, rifle slung over his shoulder and face decorated ear to ear with just the loveliest scowl. Alter, you incredible son of a bitch! I rolled over to his feet and kissed them dramatically, drinking in the ecstasy of not being Drogon poop. You gorgeous red bastard, you!
Where's the human?
Right here, buddy, I sang, still high off life. You found me, pal! The human is right here! He kicked me, twisting me back into the ground and surely breaking my nose. Ah, gods, man! I had to pinch it to make sure I wasn't covered in even more blood. Sadly, that made my voice all nasally. Now why'd you do that?
Where's the fucking kid, Pixie?
Is Pixie what I had the Dreshen call me? Probably. Oh, she's like... I pointed off into the distance, rolling my finger as I thought. Actually... I shot to my feet, letting go of my nose and letting the blood just gush out. I didn't care anymore. Holy shit, man, I don't know. I looked around, desperate to not see some awful scene of where Drogon might have found her, but nothing, no sign.
You don't know?
Standing up allowed me to take stock of the new situation. I was surrounded by armed Dreshen guards. All of the Drogon were kept at bay, Dreshens keeping their guns high and aimed at them. I blinked, rubbing my eyes and shaking my head. Alter, I'm not sure if you noticed this or not, but I gestured to just the whole general area. It's a little chaotic out here. Who knows where she is now? He growled.
How did you lose her?
Hey, man, it's your prison. Some rules would really go a long way to making sure stuff like this doesn't happen. He flung out a wild, commanding arm, screaming to his men.
Find her! Search the prison grounds, now!
Ah, I nodded. I get it. He gave me a furious, piercing glare.
What?
It was obvious. It was almost like I pleaded this to them before and they didn't listen. You finally understand what's happening now, don't you? The Fangletooth's furious snarl he gave me was all the answer I needed.
Bring him.
He pointed to me as he marched away, commanding a small force of Dreshen to swarm on me. Hey! Yet again I found myself being chained up. Crazy how common that was becoming. No need to be so rough. You could have just asked and I would have put the damn cuffs on myself. They pushed me towards God's knows where. As they shoved, I looked back and caught the horrible glare of Vought, still surrounded by angsty Drogons and desperation covering him. Wait! I tried my hardest to plant my feet into the dirt and halt the shoving Dreshen. I nodded to Vought. I need him! I didn't even know what the hell I was being dragged away for, though I had assumptions, but I had to try something. Him! I continued after they stopped. We need to take him! One of the guards tilted his head.
What?
Vought over there has known the girl for years. You want help with the girl? We're going to need Vought. The guards paused and gave each other skeptical glares. Dreshen were untrusting creatures, but luckily they weren't the smartest either. Vought just looked on like some helpless, dying puppy.
Fine.
I got shoved forward.
Grab the yellow thing.
I heard Vought squeal with joy as we both were now paraded across the camp. The Dreshen were all very obviously on edge about something. Along the walls and running this way and that, they all had this spastic, crazed look to them. We were let past one of the prison doors, finally out in the god-forsaken prison. They took us into a small building a decent walk away. Inside, Dreshen rallied around radar screens and technical equipment. They squawked orders and readouts to each other, passing reports and memos like they were some of Vaught's drugs. At the center, Alter stood with his hands behind his back, tall and horrible.
You have 1 minute to tell me how I can find the kid. Otherwise, they take you out back and finally get rid of you.
I nodded, unable to hide my smile. Told you this would happen. One of the guards pummeled a punch into my gut, sending me to my knees and making me produce a weakling sound that I hope no one ever gets to hear again. I moaned and looked up. Okay, we can help.
He knows the girl.
A guard pointed to Vought.
Known her for years, apparently.
Alter knitted a brow.
Oh, hey, yep, sure do. Known her for a long time. Liar.
Alter growled, obviously aware to the ruse I'd pulled.
They're both useless. I knew it.
So what is it? I said, still on my knees. Is a hit squad after you? Or is a missile heading this way? Come on, man. What they got coming for you? He was silent, deep in contemplation, and forehead tensed. Then, almost with a sigh, he admitted.
There's nothing.
What?
The radar. It's empty.
My eyes widened, and it seemed I was the only one listening who understood what Alter was saying. We were in one of the busiest sectors of the galaxy. The radar was never empty. Oh, sweet Darwin! I went ahead and fell to my back, flopping from my knees, looking up towards the ceiling. I was half laughing and half crying. Oh, we're so fucked. We're so fucked! What? Alter slammed his fist on the table. What does this mean, human? He charged towards me, crashing through the small crowd and flipping a chair as he grabbed my shirt and shook me, screaming down at me. Tell me, human! Tell me what's happening! I was limp in his hands, head rocked back and still laughing lightly. I've only heard legends. He threw me back to the ground. What legends? Legends of a hidden fleet, an armada made for one purpose, one singular motive. The room stared at me, now all chaos and mayhem frozen, all engineers and technicians watching on with bright wonder. She wasn't the only kid on that planet you raided, was she? Alter's hands tightened into fists. Speak plainly. You first. A cool acceptance washed over me. If I was going to go out, at least this would be a lot cooler than his Drogon poop. What happened in your raid? He twisted his feet and looked down. Yes, he spat out the word. We found more kids than just her. Oh, God, Alter. And we killed them. They were in the way. You're such a fucking idiot, Alter. You have no idea what you've done, man. His eyes were desperate now, inflamed and large. What is happening, human? What? That fleet. We only use it for the worst of the worst, for those who dare to harm kids. Buddy, Alter, that fleet is going to wipe out every single thing on this godforsaken camp. And after that, it's going to go to your homeworld to do God knows what. If you're lucky, they'll topple your government, execute all high-ranking military, and establish new law. And unlucky? I danced my bound-up hands into the air. Poof! Enough! Rage filled him. He threw his arms about and began barking and marching. Take those two outside. Kill them immediately. Everyone else, find that damned girl. We need bargaining power, damn it. We find that girl, we make it out of this. Hear me? Find the girl! The small room erupted again. A new sense of true desperation, of active, prey-like dread, gripped all that could breathe. One of the guards lifted me from the ground and shoved me outside, Vought squealing as he followed close behind. They moved us quickly to some forsaken, desolate squat of land behind one of the buildings, flanked by two gray, uncaring rocks. There they tossed the both of us, throwing us against the hard land. All right. One of the two guards rolled out his shoulder. All right, you two. Enough is enough. Vought shook.
No, wait! We can still help you!
Buddy, that's all right. I stayed on the ground, leaning against the back of one of the rocks and closing my eyes, tilting my head up high and sighing. Luck can only take a man so far. When she's finally gone, there's nothing left to do. Nothing left to do but smile, my friend. A cool, serene wave of understanding took over me. Somehow this felt more right. It felt better than dying in a spaceship crash or eaten by a Drogon. Back here, behind this Dreschen shed, on some rocky hairball of a planet, dejected and empty, that just felt better. It was exactly what I deserved, to be shot, discarded, and forgotten. A wispy, forgettable ending for a wispy, forgotten man. I smiled, hearing them lift their guns. Sorry I dragged you into this, Vought. The small clicks of fingers on triggers, the quick, momentary halt of breath, the pause while aiming. This was it. This was the last second of Crash! I was thrown into the air, a horrid crescendo of explosions and fire ringing out. Suddenly, I was in a mess of dust, screams, and more bright explosions. I couldn't understand what was going on. I crawled and squirmed amongst the chaos, small rocks and rubble landing on me constantly. Vought! I couldn't see through the dust, and my voice was simply drowned out by more crashing, horrid explosions. I shook my head, staying low and trying to grasp what the hell was happening. The dust momentarily cleared, and then I saw it, obvious and grand. In the atmosphere of the small planet, decorated above my head like a child's mobile, A great battle was happening, if you could even call it that. The fleet had arrived, and it was showering anything that looked remotely Dreschen with hellfire. Over and over, great white balls of arcing energy careened from one of the human ships, dipping onto the planet and exploding with great furious destruction. Around me, prisoners ran about, the walls having been shattered and their minds spastic with fear. I could see Vought barely amongst it all, huddled under the rubble of a metal scrap, shaking and crying. I was going to yell out to him again, but then I got turned from my stomach to my back. It was Alter, bloody and crazed. He lifted me by my shirt and slammed me back down, gun in the other hand, and aimed at my head. "Human!" An explosion nearby caused us both to flinch, and more dust fell among us, little pellets of hell's snow. "This is your fault!" He was rabid with fear. I could see it in his black, panicked eyes. "You did this!" "My friend," I was still calm, and at this point I felt like a monk in chaos. "I tried to warn you." He pushed the gun up to my temple and leaned in close, his spit coating me with sticky resin. "I'm going to fucking kill you! I want to watch the light leave those eyes! I want to see your head pop like a bloody balloon!" More explosions. A flying piece of metal debris zipped over into my leg, causing me to scream in pain. "Yes!" Alter licked his greedy lips. "Like that! I'm going to make you cry like that!" "Fine!" I shrugged, still wincing from the new wound. "Do it, man! Just do it!" "I'm going to!" His head exploded, caking me in tarry hot Dreschen blood. I'm not going to lie, it might have scared me, and I might have screamed a little. "What the fuck?" His limp body fell onto me, gushing its ichor onto my chest like the nozzle of a black bath. "Oh, gods!" I pushed him aside and quickly stood up, almost falling as I realized the weakness in my wounded leg. Then I saw it, gilded head to toe in sleek modern armor. The helmet was a half orb of glass. In their hand a modern, sharp pistol sizzled with smoke. It was human special forces. Their helmet slunk back and revealed the face of a scarred, grizzled woman, eyes deep and tiger-like.
"She asked me to make sure you were okay."
The explosions kept shattering the planet, yet now none were close enough to us to do any real damage. No coincidence, I'm sure. Fuck! I threw off some more blood from my arms. Dar!
"We know who you are. You have quite the record."
I finally came back to my senses. "Yeah?" My list of crimes was long. I'm sure they knew every detail. I didn't really care. "I'm guessing you were the one who saved her, right?"
"Yes. I came in right after you threw her to fight the Drogons."
"Good." I nodded, rubbing my hands. I was silent for a moment, thinking the whole situation over, a little somber. "What's her name?"
"Liala."
"Liala. Yeah, that makes sense. She seemed like a Liala. Her parents?"
"Dead, but we'll take care of her."
"Good." I looked around at the destruction. By the time this was done, nothing would be left. The Dreschen?
"Getting what they deserve."
All of them?
"Not the innocent."
I smirked. So all of them. She hardened her stare, looking me up and down, then nodded.
"You're on your own now."
Her helmet flipped back on, covering her face and turning her voice electronic.
"I assume you're used to that."
She turned to run away, but I had to ask, so I yelled out and waved my hand. "Wait!" She stopped and turned. "How did you all know that none of those explosions weren't going to kill me?" Her face was covered, but I know the sound of a smile when I hear one.
"We didn't."
She turned back, yelling the last parting words as she disappeared.
"You're just lucky, Leif."
That was my legal name.